Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Well, it's not new, but we already know that the Russian army, or the allies, how they call themselves over there, because it's a mixture between the volunteers from the territories, some Russian army, some Chechens, some Syrians, volunteers, mercenaries, Wagner Group, all that. They're not doing very well right now, and it seems like the Ukrainian forces are advancing and hitting the Russians hard. The Russians just retreated from Liman, avoiding encirclement, and the Ukrainian army took over Liman, which is a big achievement for them. This article comes from Ukrainska Pravda and talks about the latest military achievements in destruction coming from the Ukrainian side. Ukraine's forces destroy 8 Russian command posts and 3 ammunition storage points on October 1st, General Staff report. This article comes from October 2nd, 2022. Ukraine's defense forces, collective name for all Ukrainian military formations involved in the ongoing combat in this country. So Ukrainian defense forces. I've never seen this clarification or detail ever, and I'm reading this outlet, this Ukrainska Pravda, every day. I've never seen this attached, this explanation to the Ukraine's defense forces. I wonder why. Are we going to find out that there are some other people over there that we know they are, but people that should not be there? Because in the parentheses is collective name for all Ukrainian military formations involved in the ongoing combat in this country. Ukrainian military. Okay, so Ukrainian Defense Forces struck 8 Russian command posts, 10 concentrations of Russian military equipment, 3 ammunition storage points, and 2 S-300 anti-aircraft missile systems over the course of Saturday, October 1st. General Staff of Armed Forces of Ukraine posted this on Facebook at 6 a.m. I'm assuming on 2nd of October, because they say 600, so I'm assuming without any PM, EM, GMT or anything. Quote, over the course of the past 24 hours, Ukraine's defense forces have repelled enemy attacks in the vicinity of Kazacha, Lopan, Vimka, Bakhmut, Vesela Dolina, and Parvomiske. Now that means on these areas the Russians are attacking, and they say they repel. That means they push back. That means these guys try to advance, and you advance with tanks, you advance with infantry, right? You don't attack with missiles. That's you don't advance with missiles. You hit with missiles, you launch them, you bombard, do whatever. But that means the Russians are trying some things over there. Ukrainian aircraft carried out 29 airstrikes to support the actions of the ground forces. An enemy strongpoint has been struck, as well as 22 areas of concentration of weapons and military equipment, and 6 enemy anti-aircraft defense systems. In addition, Ukrainian air forces struck down 2 Russian UAVs. Ukraine's rocket forces and artillery struck 8 command posts and 10 areas where Russian military personnel, weapons and equipment were concentrated, as well as 3 ammunition storage points and 2 S-300 anti-aircraft defense systems. Now details. Over the course of the past 24 hours, Russian forces carried out 4 missile strikes and 16 airstrikes, as well as over 75 attacks using multiple launch rocket systems, MLRS, on military and civilian targets across Ukraine. It should be the other way around, on civilian and military. I'm surprised they mentioned the military here, because usually the Russians are just killing people, and they're very accurate at doing that, seems like, even though they have only 30% accuracy. This is again according to these guys. You can hear and you can see through the propaganda here. I'm pretty sure civilians die. I mean, it's not that, but you know, you can't be so accurate to hit only civilians, and then you say, hey, the Russian army has only 30% accuracy. All right, well, whatever you say, boss. Russian forces are also deploying Iranian-made Shahed 136 drones to hit infrastructure targets in Ukraine, not military infrastructure, just infrastructure. Right? More than 30 Ukrainian cities, towns and villages came under Russian fire, including Bilohorivka, Bakhmut, Krasnohorivka, Marinka, Vodiane, Tudove, and Odessa, we know that one, Mykolaiv, Nikopol. So these are big cities here. The General Staff also reported that Russian forces are continuing to suffer losses in Ukraine. For example, a Russian ammunition dump was struck and destroyed near Chernihivka, Zaporozhye Oblast, on 30th of September, with around 50 Russian soldiers being injured in the attack. Russia continues to undertake mobilization measures. Military units in Russian-occupied Crimea have been put on full combat alert since September 30th. A motor rifle division is being formed in Crimea, staffed by the male residents of the peninsula, as not much diversity there, as well as Krasnodar Krai and the Republic of Adygea, both Russia federal subjects, who have recently been called up. Up to 2,000 recently called up persons have arrived at the permanent deployment point of the 810th Separate Marine Brigade in Sevastopol. Around 5,000 recently called up persons arrived to reinforce the 205th Separate Motor Rifle Brigade of the 49th Combined Arms Army of the Southern Military District of the Russian Federation in the city of Bodionovsk in the Sevastopol Krai, a federal subject, Stavropol Krai, a federal subject of Russia in North Caucasus. Well, what do we get out of this? The Russians are bringing reinforcements. There's a big problem, it seems like, they're scrambling for personnel, fighters in Crimea. They still have the capability to conduct airstrikes and even offensive actions. According to the Ukrainians, they are pushed back. The Ukrainians also use airstrikes, and they are holding the line. So the war still occurs over there. There's a lot of missile strikes, and nothing major occurs as far as these guys are reporting. Now, I don't know exactly what's going on coming from other sources, but this is a Ukrainian source. So the Ukrainians are good, the Russians are bad. All right, the Ukrainians are doing fantastic things, the Russians are losing. This is the script. So along that script, you just deviate a little bit left and right. This is the information from the front according to the Ukrainians as of now. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.